listening to the Mark Bradford Alchemy for Life podcast.
You know, it's all about the little things. Well, hey there. Welcome back. So a shout out again to El Salvador and to the people who have written to me about the status game this week. Pretty cool stuff. So, I'm going to jump right into the phrase today, time, energy, and resources. One of the parts of time, energy, and resources is obviously time. And, you know, sometimes I talk about a concept and then we get some bullets and we get some to do or take home or takeaways. Sometimes we kind of talk for the whole 10 minutes about a concept and concepts connected to it. I just want to talk about one concept today, which is based on the whole Alchemy for Life, time, energy, and resources, and that's the time part. And as we know, you can't really measure something if you don't measure it. I mean, if you don't have proper metrics in place, right? You can't know if you're wasting time if you're not measuring the time. You can't know where your effort's going if you're not measuring the effort, which gets back to the whole balance sheet and all that stuff. But we're not going to go there. We're going to go to something a little simpler, which is your calendar. I would imagine if you are one of the people who keeps a calendar, your calendar is probably something like Outlook. Don't use that. Or, Gmail or something like that, right? In which you have basically a web calendar and you can have pretty colors and you can say how long it is. And you can even know certain things like, well, are you traveling to this meeting or is it just time for you to do a thing, right? So if you're one of the bizarrely lucky people in life that has a job in some way that there's no calendar involved, you go to work and you do a thing and then you come home. There's really never appointments, and once in a great while, maybe you have a company meeting or something. Well, wow, that's amazing. But even if you do have a job or a calling or something that you do in which there really aren't meetings, there's still going to be things that happen at night, right? I mean, if you have kids, you probably have a pretty full schedule. If you have kids that you've shoved into sports, that they've willingly and happily gone into sports, you'll have even more things, right? You'll have to drive them to practice and coaching and games and all sorts of stuff. And certain kinds of sports make you drive over God's green earth, like all over the place, the different cities and counties and whatever you call municipalities in your neck of the woods. So here's the fun part. If you look at your calendar, if you're any of those people that I just talked about, if you have a calendar that actually has things on it, I would challenge you to find something fun. Now look, you may say, oh no, I put on date night with my wife. Date night is Thursday nights or Friday nights or Monday nights because it's easy to get a reservation then or something, right? You may have something like that. Very cool. Or you may have, I'm going on vacation or I have a party to go to or something like that. Those are all very cool, but not exactly what I'm talking about. See, there's a certain section of the audience listening right now that has a really complicated, packed calendar, and it's complicated and it's packed with stuff to do. And if we go to the 5-column sheet, it's productivity / obligations. That's what their whole calendars is set up with, is productivity and obligation stuff. I got to do here. I got to drive here. I got to drive the kids here. I got to go here. I got to go to work. I got to do this. I got to take the garbage out Friday morning, blah, blah, blah. So my challenge is that to people who are keeping a calendar in any way, shape, or form, and I would hope that everyone is find the fun stuff. And let's assume that everyone just failed it. Okay, I'll save you some time. So what if you were to put on your calendar the little fun things that you do? Because that would sort of generate a question in your mind, wouldn't it, first and foremost? Your first question would be, well, how little is little, Mark? Like, are we talking like a 15-minute thing? Like going outside behind the shed to smoke a pipe or something? Sorry, I don't smoke anything, so I don't know what that is. But you know what I mean? Like a tiny little task like that. Is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about a dessert? Are we talking about a little fun thing that we do that's like 10 minutes long, 5 minutes long, a half hour? Hey, I know what you're thinking. But that sort of thing, is that where I'm going? And yes, that's exactly where I'm going. You can go through a day and just sort of be like, blah. I feel like I made a cardboard. Like I have no feelings, no emotions. I just went to work, did my thing, didn't really interact much with people, didn't have any laughs or anything. Came home, realized the grass had to be cut. I cut the grass, and here it is, like 7 o'clock. Okay, great. And like your only joy maybe if you're with someone is seeing that person. And if you're not with someone, the only joy may be what you're eating, or it may be the beer or drink that you might award yourself with. So let me say again, what if you were to put on your calendar all these little fun things you would put on that you're going to award yourself a little drink? I mean, in the state I live in, it's essentially a competition. I'm not suggesting that you overdo it. I'm just suggesting that it's very commonplace where I live that people, people drink during the week all the time. Even business meetings and things like that, lunches and so forth. It's not completely unheard of. I'm not saying you should be an alcoholic. I'm not saying you should indulge in really bad things. Let's just assume that we're all very intelligent, highly functional people with fantastic taste, which is why you're listening. Thank you so much. So what we're actually saying is put these little tiny things on your calendar, and that's going to be one of the takeaways at the end. We've defined that these little tiny things are literally little tiny things. They could literally be 1 minute long, 5 minutes long, 15 minutes long, what have you. And what'll happen is, as I said before, with you can't tell how much you're doing of something unless you measure it. Imagine if you did that. Imagine if you put the stuff on your calendar. Then you could look back and go, oh, wow, I really don't have any fun. Or, oh, I really like doing that thing a lot more than I thought I did. So you may say, well, Mark, I'm coming up a blank here. I don't know. I mean, I may put one thing on there, but that's it. Well, then use the calendar the way that I have in a lot of ways. Use it retroactively, meaning put stuff on there you've already done. If it's the end of the day and you put a task on there and you went past that task and you're like, okay, that's great. But you get to the end of the day and you've done 3 other things. Put those 3 other things on there retroactively. Say, well, at 5 o'clock I did that. You'll find that's really useful for productivity, by the way. If you keep a calendar to be productive versus do a thing at a certain time, you will find that going back to the calendar at the end of the day and like squeezing up something and saying, oh yeah, that was a 2-hour thing, but it only took 1.5 hours and I started at 1. It's really interesting because it'll give you a record, a historical record of what you've done. And you deserve a historical record of not just when you showed up for work or when you cut the grass. You deserve a historical, I am so sorry. I said it twice properly and then I messed it up. You deserve a historical record, or an historical record if you want to be really proper. You deserve that for the fun things, because we want to see if you're having fun. We want to kind of see what your fun is, and we want to see how often you're doing that sort of thing. And historically, it's such a cool thing to do that. And this will take a week, so why don't we do that? And if you're one of the people who subscribes and actually gets the article, you'll be able to see this in print. But the takeaways, again, as I always try to have at the end of these little 10-minute sessions, is put your fun stuff on the calendar. Try to get in the mindset of going, okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. What fun thing can I do today? What do I like doing? Besides a hobby that may take six hours, I'm going to go do, RC car racing or do this or play pool with friends or play cards or what have you. Go to a movie with my wife, whatever. But little tiny things that are kind of fun, private me time things. Something like, maybe you have a journal. Maybe you like to putz with software. Maybe you like to play, maybe you're a gamer, something like that. And then as you do this during the week, you will then suddenly have an awareness of all the fun stuff that you're doing that you didn't realize. So by the time you hear this next podcast, it would be great for you to go, oh, that's right, I was supposed to do that thing during this week. So if you did, you can look back and see the little bits and pieces, little 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute little color-coded things you put on your calendar. And someone very close to you may go, what is that? Why did you put down that you had a piece of gum? But if it's meaningful to you and you go, well, I like chewing gum, I'm trying to lose weight, so I chew a piece of gum so I don't eat anymore, and that becomes a meaningful thing. So hopefully this was useful as always, and thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Hey there, thanks for listening. I always appreciate your feedback. I really, really do. Wanted to let you know that the Sword and the Sunflower audiobook won as Best New Author for 2020. My podcast is available wherever you consume podcasts, and my books are available on Amazon. Take care.